The bridge of the U.S. Resolute hummed with activity. Deho sat in the command chair, watching his crew work. They had reached the ship in 10 minutes, running through corridors filled with panicked aliens. Now they floated in orbit above Terminus Prime, watching the Coalition fleet form up. Fleet composition report, Hana called out from her tactical station. 42 Coalition warships taking defensive positions. Corvathian dreadnoughts at the front. Luminary shield ships forming the second line. Axion cruisers on the flanks. Minji worked at the engineering console, her fingers flying across the controls. All systems running normal. Reactors at 100%. Weapons charged. We're ready for combat. A message came through from Coalition Command. The face of a Corvathian fleet commander appeared on the screen. Human vessel Resolute, you are ordered to remain at Terminus Prime. Begin evacuation of civilians from the assembly hall. You are not cleared for combat operations. Deho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Commander, we have a fully operational warship. We can fight. Your vessel is untested. This is not the time for experiments. Follow your orders. Coalition Command out. The screen went dark. Hana turned in her chair, frustration clear on her face. They still don't trust us. Even now. They don't trust themselves, Deho replied. They've been comfortable for too long. No real threats for 2 centuries. How something dangerous shows up and they're scared. Taeyong's voice came through from the assembly hall. He had stayed behind to coordinate the evacuation. Deho, the intelligence reports are coming through. The Kraloth didn't die out. They've been hiding at the Galactic Rim, rebuilding. They've stolen technology from dozens of species they conquered out there. How many ships are we talking about? Deho asked. Final count is 3,200 vessels. Their main dreadnought is... It's the size of a small moon. Deho, the Coalition fleet here only has 42 ships. The math doesn't look good. On the main screen, the Coalition fleet looked impressive. The massive Corvathian dreadnoughts had cannons that could tear apart planets. The luminary shield ships created glowing barriers of pure energy. The Axion cruisers shimmered with quantum technology that could bend space itself. They look strong, Minji said quietly. They are strong, Deho agreed. Against enemies who fight like them. The Kraloth fleet appeared at the edge of the system. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Hana pulled up the tactical display. Thousands of red dots filled the screen, arranged in precise geometric patterns. They've been planning this, Hana said. Look at that formation. Every ship knows exactly where to be. This isn't a random attack. It's an invasion. The lead Kraloth vessel, the massive dreadnought, broadcast a message across all frequencies. The voice was deep and cold. Coalition forces, you ruled this galaxy for long enough. Your time is over. Surrender now and we will let you live as slaves. Resist and we will erase you from existence. The Coalition commander's response was immediate. Kraloth fleet, you are in violation of 47 interstellar treaties. Leave this system immediately or face destruction. The Kraloth laughed. It was a horrible sound. 200 years ago you destroyed our homeworld. We have spent every day since then preparing for this moment. Your treaties mean nothing. Your threats are empty. Today the Coalition dies. The battle started with a flash of light that filled the entire system. The Coalition fleet fired first. Plasma cannons from the Corvathian ships created streams of superheated gas that crossed millions of kilometers in seconds. The Axion quantum disruptors tore holes in space itself. Energy weapons of every color and type lit up the darkness. For 3 minutes it looked like the Coalition might win. Their weapons were advanced, their tactics practiced over thousands of years. The first wave of fire should have destroyed hundreds of enemy ships. Instead, the Kraloth shrugged it off. Every plasma beam was absorbed by their dark matter plating. Every quantum disruptor was neutralized by probability anchors. Every energy weapon simply failed to work. How? Minji whispered, staring at the display. Those defenses shouldn't be possible. They studied us, Deho said grimly. 200 years to learn every Coalition weapon system. Every defense. Every tactic. They built their entire fleet to counter us. The Kraloth returned fire. Their weapons were different. Phase-shifted projectiles that passed through shields like they weren't there. Gravity weapons that crushed ships from the inside. Bioweapons that dissolved armor like acid. The Coalition fleet tried to adapt, but it was too late. Ships exploded one after another. A Corvathian dreadnought broke in half, its thick armor useless. 3 luminary shield ships imploded as gravity weapons compressed them to nothing. An entire squadron of Axion cruisers simply vanished, erased from existence. 20 minutes. That's how long it took. 20 minutes and the mighty coalition fleet was destroyed. 18 ships gone completely. 12 more crippled and drifting. Only 12 ships retreated, running for their lives. The bridge of the Resolute was silent. The crew had watched it all happen. They had seen the most advanced military force in the galaxy get crushed like it was nothing. Hana checked her instruments, her hands shaking. The Kraloth fleet is advancing toward Terminus Prime. Estimated time to orbital bombardment 2 hours. Taeyong's face appeared on the screen again. He looked older than before, tired and scared. Commander Kim, the assembly hall has over 10,000 civilians. We're evacuating as fast as we can, but we need more time. How much time? Daeho asked. 4 hours minimum. The Kraloth will be here in 2. Daeho looked at his crew. Minji met his eyes and nodded. Hana straightened in her chair, fear replaced by determination. The rest of the bridge crew waited for his decision. Admiral Taeyong, Daeho said slowly, you're about to see what Earth's prototype can really do. Daeho, you can't fight them alone. You saw what happened to the Coalition fleet. The Coalition fleet fought using 10,000 years of established tactics. Energy weapons against energy defenses. Advanced technology against advanced counters. They fought the way everyone expects. Daeho smiled. We're going to fight the way nobody expects. What are you talking about? The Kraloth spent 2 centuries learning to fight the Coalition. They perfected defenses against every known weapon system in the galaxy. Daeho leaned forward. But they never fought humans. They don't know our weapons. They've never seen our tactics. And they're about to learn that sometimes the old ways work better than the new ones. Taeyong was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Give them hell, Commander. The screen went dark. Daeho turned to his crew. Lieutenant Song, plot an intercept course. Dr. Park, push the reactors to 150%. I want every weapon system ready. 150% might damage the systems, Minji warned. That's why you built in redundancy, isn't it? If something breaks, something else takes over. Minji smiled. Yes, sir. Redundancy was exactly why I built it that way. The UESS Resolute turned toward the massive Kraloth Armada, 1 human ship against 3,000 alien vessels. The aliens who had laughed at their primitive design were about to receive an education in why humanity had survived every challenge thrown at them. Because humans didn't just adapt to the rules. They rewrote them. The Resolute moved through space like a shark cutting through water. Fast, precise, deadly. The Kraloth Armada watched this single human ship approach, and at first they were amused. On the bridge, Minji called out reactor status. 150% and holding steady. All backup systems online. We can maintain this for about 6 hours before we need to cool down. We won't need 6 hours, Daeho said. Lieutenant Song, what's the enemy doing? Hana studied her tactical display. They're sending 50 ships to intercept us. Looks like they think we're not worth more than that. Good. Let them underestimate us. How are those ships positioned? Tight formation. They're clustered for mutual shield support, just like the Coalition fleet was. Standard Galactic Doctrine, Daeho smiled. Standard Galactic Doctrine assumes energy weapons. Dr. Park, are our magnetic cannons ready? All batteries charged and loaded. 200 kilograms of tungsten per projectile. Acceleration to 0.85% light speed. Minji paused. Sir, at that velocity, each round carries more kinetic energy than a tactical nuclear weapon. Perfect. They built defenses for energy. Let's see how they handle solid matter moving at near light speed. The 50 Kraloth ships spread out slightly as they approached. They were large vessels, each one bigger than the Resolute. Their hulls shimmered with the dark matter plating that had absorbed the Coalition's plasma weapons. They looked unstoppable. The Kraloth commander broadcast to the Resolute. Human ship, you cannot win. We watched your Coalition allies die. Their advanced technology was useless against us. Your primitive vessel stands no chance. Turn back and we will let you live. Daeho thought about responding but decided against it. Words wouldn't change anything. Only action mattered now. Range? He asked. 2 million kilometers, Hana replied. They're opening fire. Phase-shifted projectiles and gravity beams streaked toward the Resolute. The crew tensed, waiting for impact. But Daeho had studied the battle recordings. He knew these weapons traveled slower than kinetic projectiles. Evasive pattern Delta, Daeho ordered calmly. The Resolute twisted and accelerated. The alien weapons passed through the space where they had been seconds before. The ship's thick armor, mocked for making them slow, actually made them more maneuverable than expected. The redundant thrusters fired in patterns that confused enemy targeting systems. 1,000,000 kilometers, Hana announced. Entering optimal firing range for our weapons. All batteries, Deho said quietly. Firing solution Omega. Target the center of their formation, fire. The magnetic cannons roared to life. The entire ship shuddered as electromagnets accelerated tungsten projectiles down rails 200 meters long. The rounds left the barrels at impossible speeds, invisible to the naked eye. At near light speed, the distance was covered in just over 3 seconds. The Kraloth ships had no time to react. Their sensors barely registered the incoming projectiles before impact. The first round hit a Kraloth cruiser dead center, 200 kilograms of dense metal moving at 2,500 kilometers per second, released more energy than any bomb humans had ever built. The ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, torn apart at the molecular level. The second round punched through 3 ships before its energy dissipated. Hulls designed to absorb energy weapons offered no resistance to solid matter. The projectile passed through like paper. 20 rounds in the first volley. 20 Kraloth ships destroyed in 5 seconds. The remaining 30 enemy vessels broke formation in confusion. Their sophisticated targeting systems had been designed for energy weapons and quantum technology. They had no protocols for dodging physical projectiles at relativistic speeds. Second volley, Deho ordered. Fire at will. The Resolute's cannons fired again and again. Each shot was carefully calculated by Hana's tactical computer. The point defense system, designed to track thousands of pieces of space debris, now tracked enemy ships with terrifying accuracy. The Kraloth tried to scatter, but their tight formation worked against them. Ships collided trying to evade. Debris from destroyed vessels became deadly projectiles that damaged others. Within 10 minutes, all 50 ships were gone. Not retreating, not damaged, gone. The bridge crew sat in stunned silence. They had done it. They had faced 50 enemy warships and won without taking a single hit. Minji checked her systems. Reactors still stable. We used about 20% of our ammunition. All weapon systems functioning perfectly. Hana pulled up the tactical overview. The main Kraloth fleet has stopped advancing. They're reforming, spreading out their formations. They're learning, Deho said. They know tight formations are vulnerable now, but spreading out means they lose their coordinated defense advantage. A message came from Taeyong back at Terminus Prime. His voice was shaking with emotion. Deho, we watched the entire engagement. I can't believe what I just saw. You destroyed 50 ships without even getting hit. They weren't ready for kinetic weapons, Admiral. The entire galaxy forgot that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. The Coalition Council is going crazy. They want to know how you did it. They're pulling up your presentation from earlier. Taeyong laughed. The same presentation they mocked 6 hours ago. Tell them to keep watching, Deho said. We're not done yet. Hana's console beeped urgently. Sir, the Kraloth fleet is moving again. They're sending more ships. A lot more. How many? 1,000 ships. They're converging from all directions. They're not taking chances anymore. The crew looked at Deho. 50 ships had been manageable, but 1,000? That was suicide. Even with their kinetic weapons, they couldn't possibly survive that many enemies. Deho stood up from his command chair and walked to the main view screen. The Kraloth Armada filled the display, thousands of ships arranged in deadly patterns. He thought about his crew, about Earth, about the coalition that had dismissed them. Then he thought about every human who had ever faced impossible odds and decided to fight anyway. Dr. Park, he said calmly, push the reactors to 200%. I know they can handle it. 200%? Minji's eyes went wide. That's way beyond design specifications. You over-engineered everything. You built in redundancy after redundancy. You made this ship to survive. Now let's see just how much it can take. Minji hesitated for only a second, then smiled. 200%. Coming online now? Lieutenant Song, calculate firing solutions for maximum effect. We're going straight into the center of their formation. Into the center? Hana looked shocked. Sir, that's exactly what they won't expect, Deho finished. They think we'll run. They think we'll use hit-and-run tactics. They're wrong. We're going to punch through their fleet and show them what human engineering really means. The Resolute accelerated toward the incoming enemy fleet. One ship against 1,000. The odds were impossible. The chance of survival was nearly zero. But humans had never cared much about odds. They cared about doing what was right no matter the cost. And right now, the right thing to do was teach the galaxy that Earth's prototype was no joke. Commander Daeho Kim stood at the back of the massive hall and watched the alien delegates laugh. The sound was strange. Some species clicked their tongues. Others made high-pitched whistles. The four-armed Corvathians slapped their scaled chests. But the meaning was clear in every language. They were laughing at Earth. The Galactic Assembly Hall orbited a neutral planet called Terminus Prime. It was a beautiful building, all crystal walls and floating platforms. Representatives from 47 different species gathered here to discuss important matters. Today's matter was military technology, and Earth's presentation was not going well. On the main stage, Dr. Minji Park tried to continue her presentation. Her hands shook slightly as she pointed to the hologram of Earth's new warship. The UESS Resolute floated in the projection, looking small and simple compared to the sleek alien vessels displayed earlier. As I was saying, Minji spoke into the microphone. Our magnetic acceleration system can launch projectiles at 0.85% the speed of light. The kinetic energy alone, kinetic weapons? The Corvathian ambassador stood up, his forearms spread wide. You brought us kinetic weapons? We stopped using those 10,000 years ago. More laughter filled the hall. Daeho felt his jaw tighten. He had spent 30 years in Earth's Navy. He had fought in the First Contact War against the Vrelith Swarm. He had scars on his body and memories in his mind that still woke him up at night. And now he had to stand here and watch his species get mocked by beings who had never seen Earth fight. The crystalline luminary representative spoke next. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. The reactor design is interesting, but it seems unstable. Why so many redundant systems? It is inefficient, Minji tried to explain. The redundancy is intentional. If one system fails, 3 others take over. In combat, reliability matters more than in combat. An Axian observer floated forward. The Axians were beings of pure energy contained in suits. This vessel would not survive real combat. Your armor is too thick, making you slow. Your weapons are primitive. Your defenses rely on outdated principles. Frankly, we are surprised Earth submitted this for review. Daeho watched Minji's shoulders slump. She had worked for 5 years on the Resolute. She believed in it. But standing on that stage, surrounded by species that had traveled the stars for millennia, her confidence was breaking. Admiral Taeyong Choi, Earth's main representative, stood up from his seat. He was an old man, 61 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent the last 15 years trying to earn respect for humanity in the Galactic Coalition. It was not going well. Perhaps we can discuss the point defense systems, Taeyong said calmly. Dr. Park has developed a tracking grid that can track debris. The Corvathian laughed again. We saw the specifications. You adapted technology meant for tracking space garbage. How is that relevant to military operations? Because it can track thousands of objects simultaneously, Minji said quietly. In a battle with multiple fighters and missiles, that capability would be unnecessary, the Luminari finished. Modern shield systems make such precision irrelevant. You are solving problems that no longer exist. The presentation ended badly. The alien delegates filed out of the hall, still making their clicking and whistling sounds. Daeho heard fragments of conversation. Words like primitive, outdated, and embarrassing floated through the air. Daeho walked down to the stage where Minji was gathering her materials. Her hands were still shaking. Taeyong stood beside her, his face blank but his eyes sad. I'm sorry, Minji whispered. I thought if I could just explain it properly. You did fine, Daeho said. They didn't want to understand. They want us to fail, Taeyong added quietly. We're the newest species in the coalition. Only 15 years. Some of these civilizations have been spacefaring for 50,000 years. They see us as children playing with toys. Lieutenant Hanasong approached from the side entrance. She was young, only 26, and served as tactical officer aboard the Resolute. She had watched the presentation from the observation deck. Sir, she said to Daeho, the crew is asking about the presentation. What should I tell them? Daeho looked at the young woman. She had joined the Navy to serve humanity, to prove that Earth belonged among the stars. Now she had to tell her fellow crew members that their ship was considered a joke. Tell them the truth, Daeho said. Tell them the coalition doesn't understand what we built. But that doesn't mean we built it wrong. Taeyong shook his head. It might not matter what we tell them. The Defense Committee votes next week on military contributions. After today, Earth might lose its seat entirely. They'll say we have nothing valuable to offer. Minji finally spoke up, her voice stronger now. They're wrong, you know. The Resolute isn't outdated. It's different. We don't fight like them because we don't think like them. Different doesn't matter if they won't give us a chance. Taeyong replied. Daeho was about to respond when an alarm sounded throughout the hall. It was a soft tone, not urgent, but it made everyone stop. Hana pulled out her datapad and checked the incoming messages. Sensor alert from the outer system, she reported. Large fleet detected entering the system. Very large. Probably a wargame exercise, Taeyong said. The coalition runs them all the time. But Daeho was already moving toward the observation window. Something felt wrong. He had learned to trust his instincts during the Vrelith War. His instincts were screaming now. Hana followed him, pulling up more data on her pad. Fleet composition is strange. These aren't coalition signatures. I'm seeing. Oh no, what is it? Minji asked. Hana's face had gone pale. I recognize these signatures from the classified archives. From the history files. These ships? They belong to the Kraloth Dominion. Taeyong's eyes went wide. That's impossible. The Kraloth were destroyed 200 years ago. The coalition wiped them out. Apparently not, Daeho said grimly, staring out at the stars. And if I'm reading these numbers correctly, they brought over 3,000 ships. The alarm tone changed. Now it was urgent. Loud. Panicked voices filled the communication channels. Alien delegates rushed back into the assembly hall, their earlier amusement replaced by fear. The Corvathian ambassador who had laughed at Earth's ship now spoke in a serious tone. All coalition vessels battle stations. This is not a drill. The Kraloth have returned. Daeho looked at his crew. Hana stood ready, her tactical mind already working. Minji clutched her datapad, full of information about the ship they had just finished mocking. Taeyong met Daeho's eyes and nodded. Lieutenant Song, Daeho said calmly, contact the Resolute. Tell them to prep for immediate departure. We're going to show the coalition what Earth's prototype can really do. As they ran toward the docking bay, Daeho allowed himself a grim smile. The aliens had laughed at their primitive weapons and outdated design. Soon they would see that sometimes primitive was exactly what you needed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity didn't play by anyone else's rules, and that was about to become everyone else's problem. The Kraloth Warmaster Throcknor watched the human ship on his command screen. He had conquered 17 star systems. He had crushed armies that numbered in the millions. He had personally commanded the destruction of 3 entire civilizations. But this single human vessel had destroyed 50 of his ships. 50. In less than 15 minutes. How? He demanded of his tactical officer. They use kinetic weapons, Warmaster. Solid projectiles accelerated to near light speed. Our dark matter plating is designed for energy absorption. It offers no defense against physical mass at those velocities. Throcknor felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Not fear exactly, but respect. The humans had found the one weakness in the Kraloth's perfect armor. They fought with weapons so primitive that nobody had bothered to defend against them. Send 1,000 ships, Throcknor ordered. Surround them from all directions. They cannot possibly fight that many enemies at once. On the Resolute, Daeho watched the enemy fleet converge. The tactical display showed red dots coming from every angle. Above, below, left, right. They were being boxed in. Reactor status? He asked. 200%, Minji reported. Temperature rising, but still within tolerance. Backup system standing by. Sir, we can do this. Hana's voice was tense. 500,000 kilometers in closing. They're firing. Multiple incoming. The view screen filled with enemy fire. Thousands of phase-shifted projectiles and gravity beams converged on the Resolute from every direction. There was no way to dodge them all. All power to forward momentum, Daeho commanded. We're not trying to dodge. We're going straight through. The first impacts hit the Resolute's hull. Armor plates buckled. Sections vented atmosphere into space. Alarms screamed across the bridge. But the ship kept moving. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7, Minji called out. Backup systems engaging, sealing damaged sections. We're still combat capable. This is what we were built for, Daeho said. To survive. To keep fighting when everything else would quit. Hold together, old girl. The Resolute plunged into the heart of the enemy formation. 1,000 Kraloth ships surrounded them, so close that their hulls nearly touched. The aliens had created the perfect kill box. It was also the perfect target. Now, Deho shouted. All weapons! Everything we have, fire! The Resolute unleashed hell. Every magnetic cannon fired simultaneously. Every point defense turret that was designed to shoot down tiny missiles now targeted capital ships. The missile banks launched their entire payload. Even the emergency escape pods were rigged with explosives and fired as improvised kinetic weapons. Hana had calculated everything perfectly. At this range, with enemies packed so tightly together, every shot would hit something. And at near light speeds, every hit was devastating. The first wave of tungsten rounds tore through the formation like a chainsaw through paper. Ships exploded. Debris scattered. The shockwaves from each impact damaged nearby vessels. A single projectile punched through 3 ships before its energy dissipated. The kinetic kill vehicles, moving at impossible speeds, turned the tight formation into a death trap. Ships collided, trying to evade. Debris became secondary projectiles that struck other ships. The result was carnage on a scale nobody had ever seen. 400 ships destroyed in the first 30 seconds, 300 more critically damaged and drifting. The survivors broke formation and scattered in pure panic. The Resolute emerged from the far side of the formation, trailing debris and venting gases but still moving. Still fighting. Damage report, Deho ordered, his voice calm despite the chaos. 40% of our armor is gone, Minji reported. We've lost main power on decks 4, 5, and 8. But the backup reactors are online. Weapons are still functional. Sir, we're hurt, but we can still fight. Hana checked her tactical display. The enemy fleet is... They're retreating. All of them. Over 2,000 ships are pulling back. The bridge crew sat in stunned silence. They had done the impossible. 1 ship against 1,000, and they had won. Not just survived, but won. Aboard the Kraloth Command Dreadnought, War Master Throcknor stared at his displays in disbelief. 700 ships destroyed, 300 more too damaged to fight. His perfect formation had been torn apart by weapons that shouldn't have worked. They're still coming, his tactical officer said quietly. That human ship is still advancing. Throcknor looked at the damaged human vessel on his screen. It should be dead. By every calculation, every tactical doctrine, every law of warfare he knew, that ship should be floating debris. Instead, it was still moving forward, still ready to fight. All ships, Throcknor said slowly, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. Retreat to the edge of the system. Maximum speed. War Master, we still outnumber them. Numbers mean nothing, Throcknor roared. We came here with technological superiority. We had weapons designed to counter every coalition defense. But these humans don't fight like the coalition. They don't use advanced technology we can counter. They use simple physics applied with brutal efficiency. He stood up from his command chair. We spent 200 years preparing to fight the coalition. We were ready for their energy weapons, their quantum technology, their sophisticated tactics. But nobody prepared us to fight humans. Retreat now. The massive Kraloth Armada, over 2,000 ships strong, turned and fled from a single battered human vessel. On Terminus Prime, the Coalition Council watched in absolute silence. The representatives who had laughed at Earth's prototype just hours ago now saw it floating victorious in space. Damaged, yes, but victorious. The Corvathian ambassador spoke first, his voice quiet and respectful. I apologize. To Commander Kim, to Dr. Park, to all of humanity, we were wrong. Terribly, completely wrong. The Luminary representative's voice chimed softly. We dismissed their redundancy as inefficient. We mocked their kinetic weapons as primitive. We failed to see that they had built something revolutionary by refusing to follow our established patterns. Admiral Taeyong stood before the council, tears running down his face. For 15 years, I have tried to earn humanity's place in this coalition. Today, 1 ship and 1 crew did what I could not. They proved that Earth doesn't just belong here. Earth has something to teach you all. On the Resolute's bridge, Daiho received a message from Taeyong. Commander, you did it. The Kraloth are retreating. Terminus Prime is safe. You saved us all. Daiho looked at his crew. Minji was running repairs, her face focused and determined. Hana was monitoring the enemy retreat, making sure they truly left. The rest of the bridge crew worked at their stations, exhausted but proud. We didn't do it alone, Admiral, Daiho replied. This crew, this ship, and every human who refused to accept that primitive meant weak. We all did this together. He stood up and walked to the view screen. The Kraloth fleet was still visible in the distance, growing smaller as they fled. Behind the Resolute, Terminus Prime floated safe and intact. Lieutenant Song, set course for Terminus Prime. Let's go home. As the damaged but undefeated Resolute limped back toward the planet, every ship in the system, coalition and neutral alike, did something that had never been done for a human vessel before. They saluted. The ship they had laughed at had just saved them all. The prototype they dismissed had changed warfare forever, and the species they had underestimated had proven that sometimes the old ways worked better than anyone imagined. Earth had earned its place in the galaxy, not through politics or diplomacy, but through courage, determination, and the simple refusal to quit when the odds were impossible, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. 3 weeks had passed since the Battle of Terminus Prime. The Galactic Assembly Hall had been repaired and reinforced. New defense platforms orbited the planet, and the UESS Resolute floated in a place of honor, its battle scars visible for all to see. Commander Daeho Kim stood before the Coalition Council once again. But this time nobody was laughing. The representatives from 47 species sat in respectful silence, waiting for him to speak. Dr. Minji Park stood beside him, her presentation materials ready. Admiral Taeyong sat in Earth's official seat, his back straight with pride. Lieutenant Hana Song waited nearby, having been promoted and assigned to the Coalition Military Academy as an instructor. The Corvathian ambassador spoke first. Commander Kim, Dr. Park, on behalf of the Coalition, I want to formally apologize for our treatment of you and your vessel. We were arrogant. We thought 10,000 years of technological advancement made us superior. We were wrong. Daeho nodded. Apology accepted. But I didn't come here for apologies. I came to explain why our approach worked where yours failed. Minji activated the holographic display. The Resolute appeared again, the same ship they had mocked 3 weeks ago. But now everyone leaned forward to study it carefully. Galactic warfare evolved into an energy arms race, Daeho began. For thousands of years, you developed better energy weapons. Then you developed better defenses against those weapons. Then better weapons to overcome those defenses. Back and forth, over and over. The luminary representative's voice chimed. Yes, this is how technology advances. Each generation builds on the last. But you forgot something, Minji said. You forgot that the most basic principles of physics still work. Kinetic energy doesn't care about your dark matter plating or probability anchors. A solid object moving fast enough will destroy anything it hits. The Kraloth studied you for 200 years, Daeho continued. They learned every energy weapon you had, every quantum technology, every defensive system. They built perfect counters to everything in your arsenal. But they never studied humanity, Minji added. We're new to the galaxy. We don't have thousands of years of established doctrine. We approached the problem fresh without assuming that energy weapons were the only option. An Axian observer floated forward. Your kinetic weapons are effective. We see that now. But they are not perfect. They require precise calculations. They can miss. Energy weapons are more flexible. You're right, Daeho agreed. Kinetic weapons aren't perfect. But they work when energy weapons don't. The key is having both. Flexibility. Options. Not putting all your trust in one type of technology. The Resolute's redundancy was the same principle, Minji explained. We didn't make one perfect system. We made 6 decent systems that back each other up. If one fails, the others take over. It's not elegant, but it keeps you alive. The council members murmured among themselves. Daeho could see their minds working, reconsidering everything they thought they knew about warfare. The Corvathian ambassador stood. The Coalition would like to request full technical specifications for your weapons systems. We want to integrate kinetic warfare into our defense doctrine. The luminary agreed. Our engineers want to work with Dr. Park to design hybrid vessels. Ships that combine energy weapons with kinetic systems. The Coalition Military Academy wants Lieutenant Song to teach tactics. The Axian added. We need to train a new generation of officers who think beyond established patterns. Admiral Taeyong spoke up. Earth accepts these proposals. But we have a condition. Humanity gets a permanent seat on the Coalition Defense Committee. Full voting rights. Our ideas will be heard and considered equally. The council didn't hesitate. Agreed, the Corvathian said. Earth has earned that right and more. As the meeting continued, Deho found himself thinking about the journey. 15 years ago, Earth had been welcomed into the coalition as the newest, weakest member. They had been patient, tried to learn, tried to fit in, and still they were dismissed. It took one battle to change everything. One ship and one crew refusing to accept that primitive meant weak. After the official meeting ended, a private message came through to Deho's datapad. It was from an unexpected source. The Kraloth Dominion wanted to talk. War Master Throcknor's face appeared on the screen. He looked older than Deho expected, tired. "Commander Kim, I request a meeting." "Through diplomatic channels. I want to understand how you defeated us." Deho considered refusing. The Kraloth had tried to conquer the coalition. They had killed thousands. But he also understood that knowledge could prevent future wars. "I'll agree to a meeting," Deho replied, "on neutral ground, with coalition observers. And War Master, if you try anything, I'll personally make sure you regret it." Throcknor almost smiled. "I believe you would. Your reputation precedes you, Commander, the human who defeated an Armada." That evening, Deho stood in the Resolute's observation deck. The ship was in repair dock, crews working around the clock to fix the damage. New armor plates were being installed, weapon systems upgraded, but it would always carry the scars of that battle. Hana joined him at the window. "Strange, isn't it? 3 weeks ago we were nobody. Now every species in the galaxy wants to learn from us." "We were never nobody," Deho said. "They just didn't see us clearly. They looked at humanity and saw primitives playing with outdated technology. They didn't see our potential." "What do you think happens now?" Hana asked. "Now?" Deho smiled. "Now we teach them. The Coalition is already building 12 Resolute-class ships. Other species are adapting our designs. In 5 years, the entire galactic military will look different because of what we did here." "And Earth?" "Earth becomes a leader instead of a follower. We're not the newest species anymore. We're the ones who changed everything." Minji walked up behind them. "The repair crews say we'll be ready to fly in 2 weeks. Better than new, actually. They're incorporating some luminary shield technology with our kinetic systems. Hybrid design," Deho noted. "Combining the best of both approaches. That's what the future looks like." Taeyong arrived carrying a bottle of something that looked like champagne. "I thought we could celebrate. 15 years of work finally paid off. Earth has respect, power, and influence. Everything I hoped for." They opened the bottle and poured drinks. As they toasted, Deho thought about all the humans who had come before. The ones who looked at impossible challenges and decided to try anyway. The engineers who overbuilt systems. The tacticians who questioned established rules. The crews who believed in their ships even when nobody else did. "To the Resolute," Taeyong said, raising his glass. "To humanity," Minji added. "To doing things our own way," Hana finished. Deho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Kraloth were licking their wounds. Other threats would emerge eventually. New challenges would arise. But the galaxy had learned something important. Never laugh at Earth's prototypes. Never dismiss human ingenuity. Never assume that primitive means weak. Because when humans built something, they built it to last. They built it to fight. They built it to win. And they didn't care if it looked primitive or simple or outdated. They cared if it worked. 6 months later, the first Resolute-class ship built by the Korvathians completed its trials. 1 year after that, hybrid kinetic energy weapons became standard across the Coalition fleet. 2 years later, Earth opened the first human military academy, teaching alien officers about redundancy, kinetic warfare, and thinking outside established patterns. Commander Deho. Kim retired from active service and became an advisor to the Coalition Defense Committee. Dr. Minji Park led the development of the next generation of warships. Admiral Taeyong Choi wrote his memoirs, titled The Day Earth Became a Power. Lieutenant Hana Song, now a captain, commanded her own Resolute-class vessel, and the original UESS Resolute, repaired and upgraded, was placed in orbit around Earth as a monument. A reminder that humanity had earned its place not through ancient history or advanced technology, but through courage, creativity, and the simple refusal to accept defeat. The ship they laughed at had saved the galaxy. The prototype they dismissed had changed warfare forever, and the species they underestimated had proven that sometimes doing things differently was exactly what the universe needed. Earth had arrived. Not as followers, but as innovators. Not as students, but as teachers. Not as the newest species, but as equals who had something valuable to offer. And they had done it by being exactly what they were: human, stubborn, creative, and absolutely refusing to quit when told something was impossible.